Your Minnesota Fighting Vikings introduced their brand new defense coordinator, Brian Flores, a former head coach of the Dolphins, at a press conference on Wednesday, and pretty hyped. I think the fan base is generally very excited about Brian Flores. He was highly sought after as a defense coordinator, as well as obviously a head coaching candidate this cycle. But he's here with the Vikings. He seems super fired up about it. His kids are going to be doing the gritty all over the place, and his press conference was pretty good. But of course, I don't know. How do you lose a press conference unless you're Adam Gase? Who knows? But here are 5 takeaways that we have from the Brian Flores opening presser. Number 1, 3-4 defense. So when asked about it, it leads into number 2, where it's going to be opponent dependent. But he flat out said 3-4 defense. Now this is good because last year they tried to play a 3-4 with Donatel, and they didn't really do much in terms of converting personnel except for adding Zadarius Smith. They had a lot of guys who would probably fit better into a 4-3. But now, Kwesi does have his marching orders to draft and for draft and free agency to get guys that are going to fit in the best in the front 7 in Flores' defense. Now, the fact that Flores stresses versatility and is multiple up front means that a lot of guys could have a lot of roles, but they got to go out and get lengthy corners who are great in man-to-man, exception for Duke Shelley. He's just great at man-to-man. He can be short. It's fine. And then also get yourself a mountain of a nose tackle. I love me some Harrison Phillips, except I think he would be better suited to playing a 3-tech, 4-tech, 5-tech versus getting just a mountain of a man in the middle. Give me 340 if he's an ounce pounds. Just a guy that can take up multiple blockers, take up both A gaps, and make life a lot easier for the rest of that defense. And also, it's good news for Zadarius Smith. I think that it could and should mean that he's going to be back in 2023. Next up, number 2 takeaway from Brian Flores' presser. But opponent dependent. So I love that aspect of it. And when he was asked about when the Vikings going to run a 3-4-4-3, who are we playing? Fantastic answer. And that's something, it feels like that's something that's been missing for a number of years. Now, Zimmer was fantastic as a defense coordinator for the Vikings early on, but it did seem like things got a little bit stale where, Zimmer was one of the pioneers of the double A-gap mug look on third down. You had Barr and Kendricks all up in the A-gaps. You didn't really know who was blitzing Harrison off the edge. But I think that offenses caught up to it. I think that teams got wise to it as everyone around the league started using it. And, 2020, 2021, besides being bereft of talent on defense because Spielman missed in the drafts, it just wasn't there. And I think that Flores mixing things up. And also, this is one of the great things, too. Flores obviously wants to be a head coach again. So turning around this defense and being as creative as possible and as aggressive as possible is going to help him, sort of show off his wares to become another head coach, which I think could greatly benefit the Vikings in 2023. I think 2 things can be true at once. Brian Flores can do a great job with the defense, and he can be showing off to get a head coaching job again. Next up, number 3. Versatility. So that's something that Flores stressed multiple times, and it shows. You look at the Patriots defense when he was there. He was the de facto DC in 2018. 3 years with the Dolphins. He loves players that can do multiple things. You look at Eric Rowe, where not the greatest player in the world, but you absolutely prize his versatility in the defensive backfield. Had it in New England, had it in Miami for the last couple of years. Would love to add him in free agency. You look at the McCourty brothers with the Patriots. You look at guys like Kyle Van Noy, who is both an off-ball linebacker as well as a pass rusher. You look at Jerome Baker, fantastic linebacker, because he's a Jerome. That's right, with the Dolphins. You look at Javon Holland, and I think it does mean some big-time things for guys like Cam Beasley, who had sort of up and down season this year, but I think using his safety skills, using his corner skills, because he played corner at Cal, using him more in the slot, I think that makes a lot of sense. Harrison Smith, not just having him as a split or single high safety, having him down in the box where he did his best work in the Zimmer years. Guys like Brian Asamoah as well. And I think that guys are going to be. You're going to have a lot more cornerback and linebacker pass rush. I mean, that's for sure. Because first off, they're going to be blitzing the hell out of everyone. But I mean, last year, when do you remember a corner blitz from Donatel? It just sucks. Yeah. Anyways, next up, takeaway number 4 for the Minnesota Fighting Vikings. Aggression. Very aggressive. So something that I love that Flores said, talk about zero blitz, so zero blitz is where you play man up across the board, the 5 eligible receivers, and then everyone else is blitzing. So you're bringing at least 6, sometimes maybe even 7, and you got 0 safety help in the back. Now, it's high risk. high reward. You can get after the quarterback, but if a receiver beats his man, it's gonna be a little bit rough. But just the threat of it, just the hey, OCs have to prepare for this look. I love that. Absolutely love it, man. And the whole Sun Tzu, if you can't get home with 4, send some more. That certainly plays. And you look at last year, so what we were just screaming into the abyss, just blitz more and be aggressive with your cornerbacks. And you could say, well, they didn't have that talent. Don't care. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? You got beat? You got beat all the time. But last year, blitzing, bottom third of the league. Pressures, even though Zadarius had himself an awesome year, Daniil had himself a fantastic back end of the season, they're 25th in the league in pressures at only 19.5%. 39 sacks, tied for 21st. Remember, they were second in the league in sacks last year with 51. When it was Andre Patterson and the Zimmers and whatnot. And 2021, the final year of Flores in Miami, the Dolphins were number 2 in the league in blitzing, almost 40%. They were number 3 in pressures, 28.5%, and 5th in sacks. When Flores finally got his guys on defense and finally got things going, I mean, that defense was one of the best in the league. Absolutely respect. And 2020, which was sort of the pivot year where the Flores defense was busted into the top 10. They were second league in blitzes, 40.8%, and they were in the top third of the league in terms of pressures and sacks. So I think it's something that you're certainly going to see a lot more of. A lot more blitzes and a lot more creative blitzes, and you're going to see 5, 6, 7 guys getting after the quarterback. I love it. And lastly, takeaway number 5 from the presser. Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores are going to get along, right? So, I mean, the whole dynamic and body language and joking with each other up there. I mean, they're guys that have been friends for years. They've known each other since 2008. Flores was on staff with the Patriots. Kevin O'Connell was the third-round pick quarterback out of San Diego State by New England, and they're not going to get in each other's way. This isn't going to be a situation of too many cooks in the kitchen, because even though Flores does have head coaching experience, he's on the other side of the ball. And I think this is the setup that these guys wanted, where Flores looked at some other DC jobs, but did he want a defensive-minded head coach above him? No, he wants to run his own scheme. He wants to get after it. He wants to pad his resume, turn around this Vikings defense, and hopefully get a head coaching job next offseason. And I don't fault him. I mean, that's what he wants to do. And Kevin O'Connell, I mean, this is what always happens. I mean, yes, you're the head coach of the entire team, but you want head coach offense, head coach defense. I mean, that's the perfect setup, and O'Connell is going to have that. Now, last year, maybe he did that to a fault. Maybe he didn't step in and interject as much with Donatel as he should have. But also, I don't think that's going to be an issue with Flores, because I think Flores, I think they're in sync of what they want to do culture-wise, what they want to do aggression-wise. Flores even said O'Connell's aggressive on offense, I'm going to be aggressive on defense, and the Vikings are just going to get after it. So I think that the rumors of the Vikings 13-4 being disappointments in 2023, I think those claims are going to be greatly exaggerated. So I think they're going to get after it. But that's it. Your thoughts on our thoughts. 5 takeaways from Brian Flores' introductory press conference. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.